The bitter conflict between the NAACP and the Tea Party movement heating up on Wednesday after the civil rights organization accused the movement of racism, or at least elements in the movement of racism. The national spokesman for the Tea Party Express, Mark Williams, appeared here in the Situation Room and fired right back.
Well, a real mouthful coming from a guy from an organization with the words "colored people" in its title. The Tea Party.
Let me interrupt you for a second. What does that have to do one thing with the other thing?
That's a pretty racist phrase.
Okay, first of all,
I was taught as a small child to not use those terms.
Williams then posted a parody letter on his blog appearing to mock the group's accusations against the elements in the Tea Party movement. The letter, which is supposed to be from an NAACP president, talking about Ben Jealous, to former President Abraham Lincoln, and it says this, and I'm quoting from the parody: "We colored people have taken a vote and decided that we don't cotton to that whole emancipation thing. Freedom means having to work for real, think for ourselves, and take consequences along with the rewards. That is just far too much to ask of us colored people, and we demand that it stop." A representative from the NAACP calls the posting, and I'm quoting now, "a feeble attempt at satire and offensive." Let's talk a little bit more about this in our strategy session. Joining us now are two CNN political contributors, Roland Martin and Mary Matalin. Guys, thanks very much for coming in. Well, let me get your reaction, because later in the day, Williams removed that parody, Roland, from his blog post, and he said he's actually trying to get into a serious conversation with Ben Jealous to work out these matters in a much more civilized, respectful way, which is something I'm sure you encourage.
Well, first of all, last night on AC 360, I actually challenged Mark Williams to actually have a conversation with the NAACP, because he claimed they advocate for civil rights. In fact, I have a post on CNN.com talking about that. Bottom line is, Mark Williams got lots of heat from his own folks today. Kobe Dillard, who is the co-founder of the Tea Party right there in Hampton Roads, Virginia, blasted him this morning when I interviewed him on the Tom Joyner Morning Show, said he should not be speaking at any of their rallies. He should not represent any of the Tea Party people, because that letter that he wrote was simply childish.
What about all this, Mary? How this affecting Republicans at large?
It isn't. I don't know Republican has any responses. There's nothing to say. I don't know this man. I don't know any Republican who does. I don't know any Republican who thinks like he does. He's a crackpot. I mean, there are racists in this country, but this is not a racist country. He's in no position to influence anybody, unlike the Reverend Wright, for instance. And frankly, I find this conversation stomach churning. Roland and I have had many thoughtful conversations about race in this country. I'm glad Roland's involved in this. And for my part, I'm going to pray that we can move on to a conversation about a lot of real issues that are out there hurting people today.